Hello, everyone. I'm joined here by Barnaby Smith, who is the Artistic Director of VOCES8. And we are really, really excited to be able to present VOCES8 for the first time at Meany Center on December 17th, coming up this year with a program called Winter Tales. And it's the first time that we are presenting VOCES8. And so I wanted to welcome you and just say thank you so much for making the time out of your incredibly busy schedule
Thank you
to
very much.
come to Meany Center in
Thank you.
Seattle.
It's an absolute pleasure. We were saying just before we came on the call that VOCES8 flies into Seattle quite a lot, but I'm not sure we've ever actually sung in the city, or we certainly sung around it, but it's a very long time since we have been there if we've been before. So very, very nice to be coming back to the Northwest. Excited.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And I was able to see a concert of what you say in Wigmore Hall last summer, and I was just blown away. And I wanted you could just share a little bit about how the group came together and your relationship with the group as artistic director.
Sure. Yes. Well, I founded the group with my brother Paul, and that was almost 20 years ago. It was back in 2005. Back then, we were all sort of former choristers from various English institutions, British institutions, and we were the original membership all took part in a youth choir called the Millennium Youth Choir, which was run by the Royal School of Church Music. And we sort of came to the natural end point for that choir, but have made such good friends that we wanted to keep singing together. So it all started with me essentially arranging sleepovers at my parents' house, and it was as much about the socializing as it was about the singing. If we're honest, we'd have a good party, and then we'd also sing for charity or maybe sing the services at a local cathedral, that sort of thing. And we were invited to a competition in Italy, which I still don't know to this day actually how they came upon us. But they sent us an email saying, would you come out to Venice and sing in our choral competition? And if you'd like to sing 5 or 6 concerts sort of around the competition dates, then we'll gladly pay your travel and accommodation and food and everything. So to us, as a bunch of 20-year-olds, that seemed like a fantastic free summer holiday to Venice. And off we went. And when we got there, we realized it was actually quite a serious thing. It was something called the European Choral Grand Prix. And we ended up winning that competition, which essentially put us on the map. And suddenly people started throwing concerts at us. And from there, it all just took off. And here we are almost 20 years later. I would say that we wouldn't have called our group VOCES8 if we'd known we'd still be here 20 years later because nobody can spell it or say it. So the reason we're called that is because our first performance was in Italy as an octet. So we chose an Italian sounding name. Any of your people watching this who know anything about linguistics will realize voces is not an Italian word. It's actually a Spanish word, but it sounded Italian to us. And the number 8, of course, is English. So yeah, that's our origin story. And yeah, it's been 20 years hard work ever since.
Fabulous. And of course, you've been nominated for Grammy Awards in the US. You have traveled the world with this incredible ensemble, and your repertoire ranges from the Renaissance to contemporary work. And then, of course, you yourself are a countertenor. You have released 2 albums, the most recent Bach. And so I'm curious about your repertoire choices and a little bit about sort of the where you maybe started with the group, or was it always such a range of repertoire?
Well, I mean, growing up in the cathedral tradition, the sort of sacred choral music that we sing was part of our everyday life from the age of 7. So that sort of speaks a little bit for itself. But we had always loved some of the great a cappella groups growing up. So I was very influenced by the Real Group, by the Swingle Singers, by the King Singers, by
Mhm.
Take Six, and we knew of their music, and singing it just used to be great fun. And so when we began the group, whilst we wanted to sing the choral repertoire that been brought up in, we also wanted to have that element of variety about what we did. And
Mhm.
since then, I mean, back in 2005, I couldn't swing anything. But these days, we have specialist jazz musicians in the group as well. Our American tenor Blake is actually a first study jazz vocalist.
Mhm.
And in between sort of me as a Baroque specialist, I suppose, and Renaissance church music specialist, and him as a jazz specialist, we have everyone sort of fitting somewhere in the middle. So it seems very natural that we sing multi-genre shows.
Mhm.
And one of the great things about the human voice is its versatility. And I think from our perspective, variety is the spice of life. So it keeps every day interesting. And it's a great challenge to try and excel across so many different styles of music. So it's something that we enjoy very much.
Mhm. And Excel, the group does. It's just such exquisite singing. I'm curious if you could share a little bit about the program that you'll be bringing here to Seattle.
Yeah, well, having just talked about all of the different styles of music, our Christmas program is no different. We'll be doing everything from Renaissance, well, actually pre-Renaissance. We'll be doing some chants and pilgrim chant, and also all the way through to jazz music and swing tunes, Michael Bublé arrangements, that sort of stuff. I
Mhm.
think if I was to pick one piece, it would be the piece that sits right in the middle to talk about, which is Pretorius's magnificent setting of the Magnificat text,
Mhm.
which he actually wrote on a special toning for Christmas. And it's in 8 voices, so it's very exciting music. It's almost madrigalian in style. It's not none of this sort of hymnal style of singing. It's really contrapuntal, very polyphonic, so lots of moving parts. And the
Mhm.
thing I love is that he instructs that within the verses of the Magnificat, we should insert 2 famous German carols, Josef lieber Josef mein and In Dulce Jubilo, both also in his arrangements. And so from just thinking this is a simple, 3, 4, 5 minute setting of the Magnificat, suddenly it's opened out into 12 or 13 minutes of amazing 8-part polyphony. And we all sort of look forward to Christmas every year to have the chance to sing it. And then
Mhm.
around that, we're programming lots of music from different styles. We actually have an amazing piece called The Lamb, which people may think is the John Tavener version. Whilst we do sing that, the winner of our composition competition last year was a guy called Luke Wenceslas Meinik, and he wrote an exquisite setting of the same text that Tavener wrote. And of course, we have to bring our European roots with us. So we have the kind of German hymns
Mhm.
and that sort of stuff in there as well. A little bit of some of the more sort of folky melodies, Silent Night, Josef
Mhm.
Lieber, Josef Mine. So really something for everything. And as I say, at the end, some swing tunes, which is always a good fun way to unwind.
Mhm. Something that you may not know is that Meany Hall has some of the best acoustics in the city. And for a 1,200 seat venue, it's very, very intimate. And the sound, it just holds the sound beautifully. And I can't wait to hear that 8-part polyphony.
I mean, that's really good to know because I think one of the greatest things about listening to the sort of thing we do is the fact that you're really hearing the naked human voice.
Mhm.
And so it's amazing to hear it in a cathedral that's huge and the echo's massive. But I
Mhm.
actually think it's almost more amazing to be sitting in a place where there's not so much in between you and the singer. So I'm
Yeah.
really pleased that we will get that intimate experience.
Mhm. And when I heard your performance at Wigmore, which is such an intimate space, I was just so touched by the clarity of each of the sounds, the purity of the sounds, and then the rhythmic, uh, just absolute security. It was just beautiful to hear.
Thank you. I think one of the things that we work on a lot is trying not to oversing because
Mhm.
we are at the end of the day we're 8 individual voices and everybody could step out and sing an opera aria, but the beauty of it is,
Mhm.
I think, in the way that everybody pulls together and that
Mhm.
there's a sense of community to the whole
Mhm.
thing, a sense of
Mhm.
everybody giving of themselves to the greater good. And
Mhm.
that the toughest part from a technical perspective of that is the control we have to sing with. And as I say,
Mhm.
in an intimate and dry space, it's really a great place to hear that.
Mhm. Speaking about community, let's talk a little bit about the huge community that you've built already in Seattle. And we're seeing that in our ticket sales, such a wonderful response to VOCES8 being in Seattle. There is a foundation here that you are starting to build. I know there is another part of VOCES8, Apollo 5, that has done some educational residency work here in Seattle. But can you speak a little bit about your foundation and how that
Mhm.
is in different parts of the US and around the
Yeah.
world?
Well, when we began the group back in 2005, as well as setting up an ensemble, we also wanted to give back to our community, very aware that the arts were long suffering in society for many reasons. And one of those reasons, of course, is finding opportunities within education
Mhm.
to offer young people the opportunities that we were so lucky to have when we were growing up. So we created the VOCES8 Foundation, and since then, we've also set up a 501c3 out in the US.
Mhm.
And we're a foundation in France. And really, we go all around the world carrying out that sort of work. And my brother, Paul, who founded the group with me, he actually stopped singing in VOCES8 in 2016
Mhm.
because he needed to take on full-time responsibility for the community part of what we do. I
Mhm.
mean, we're very proud about the number of people who we manage to engage with every year. I think
Mhm.
it's 40 or 50,000. And now in America, we have 10 or 11 hub cities where we're running full-time annual programs,
Mhm.
really trying to reach, you know, of course, people who would just like to sing, but a little bit beyond that, trying to find young people, especially who without our interactions may not have the opportunity to experience what it is to be involved in the creative arts. And there's a lot of research, isn't there, that tells us how good it is for the development of young minds to have those opportunities. So we're out there doing our very best.
Mhm. Absolutely. And of course, the development of young minds and hearts and well-being. And one of the projects that Meany Center has been engaged with over this last year and moving forward on the campus of the University of Washington is really connecting artistic joy to collective wellness and the idea that the arts are an integral part of our sense of belonging to with one another, our sense of wellness, our sense of connectedness. And vocal music seems to be one of the most important places where that is felt because you are on stage standing together in a community, and we are part of that as audience members. I wonder if you can speak a little bit about that and the work of VOCES8.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people use our music for that sort of healing because it has a very soft and kind and warm and generous feeling in the sound that we make.
Hmm.
I think as a singer, people react to you differently to when you're a musician, or I also can, sorry, music, I say music, singers, musicians, so I shouldn't make that mistake. I should say an instrumentalist. I myself am almost also a conductor.
That's
So
right.
the different reaction I get to people when I conduct where I really feel I'm bearing my soul to them because I'm asking them to follow my personal vision for a piece compared to when I sing to them. It's very interesting. They always react in a different way when you sing. And I think that's because, as you say, when you sing, you are opening yourself and offering a little bit of you to somebody else. And that can foster a great sense of community. And I think also from the listener's perspective, something I love about a cappella is there's nothing in the way. It's just human to human
Hmm.
interaction. And one thing we talk a lot about in VOCES8 is when we're singing, we're trying to connect to our own individual experiences in life so that we can bring our own empathy to a particular text or piece of music. And that helps us elevate our delivery. And what we do is really difficult. We travel around the world. We spend 6 months of the year away from our families. And so we have first-hand experience of so many of these sorts of issues and difficulties. I don't mind saying myself that I really struggled with a bout of depression shortly after my child was born because I hadn't seen it coming, that I would miss home in a totally new way. And it was actually singing with my 7 colleagues and
Hmm.
the relationships I have with them because of the music I make with them that was able to actually bring me through that. So I might sort of have an experience of it in that way, and other people in the group in their own way. But we're very pleased that our music can offer um, healing qualities to people, and we hope that what we demonstrate on stage with the way that we're collegial and the way we present our own community can also be inspiring for others.
Mhm. Well, it certainly has been inspiring for me as I have seen your work and followed you, and we're so excited to have you here in Seattle. So thank you so much, Barnaby, for joining us, and we really
My
look
pleasure.
forward to the VOCES8 performance on December 17th at Meany Center.
Yeah. Thank you.